Hello there, welcome back here on the show. A very good morning if you just joined us here. This is Prime Morning, and it's time for us to get into News Flash. It's proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise, Phone Papa Pafi, the very best of television, the very best of CCTV cameras, of course, iPhones, Samsungs, Nokia, any other type of phone you want. The best place to be is Franco Trading Enterprise. Quality is what we talk about every single day, and you want to come through any of our branches. When you go there, you're definitely going to have quality. If you have the need for fridge, you can also go there and you get one for yourself. Don't forget that do not pick any number on Google. Please do speak to us directly on our telephone number 0555-939311. You can also go on the Google Play Store and then download our app. It's pretty simple. Once you have the app, you've got Franco Trading Enterprise in your hands. It's Franco Trading app on Google or Play Store, and then you can actually get that over there. And once you download, you're good to go. Our website is www.francotrading.com, and that's where you can also have all the info that you need when it comes to Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading Enterprise says, Phone Papa Pafi. And don't forget that News Flash is probably brought to you by the kindest courtesy of Franco Trading Enterprise. This morning, we're going to go into our newspapers, the front pages real quick, and then I introduce my guests in the studio. They will begin our conversation. We're looking at two major issues, one that has to do with the limited voters registration and also our cocoa industry. Is it dying? There's a big question that we're asking. Kofi J will be joining us to give us a brief on that, and then we'll move on to other issues. So let's check the front page of the Daily Graphic, and the front page says, seize fintech opportunities, digitalization, mobile money interoperability, launch paths, Dr. Baumia rallies African nations, and that's captured on the front page of Daily Graphic. Book publishers fume over NACA's assessment role, page 13 has got a story on that as well. And government moves to build temporary drainage on Kaswa Road, and stakeholders demand public scrutiny of state lands policy. That's the front page of the Daily Graphic today. The Daily Guide is here this morning. It says AG, the banks of Police Supreme Court claims, and KGL boss Lots Otunfor. Ambulance case, businessman denies charges. And the big story over here says road projects on marched. Nana Adedanko Akufo-Addo, the president of the Republic, says so. And that's the Daily Guide this morning. Let's get to the New Finder. The New Finder says, Foucault's critics wrong. Banking consultant Siga Boss say calls for his removal lacks merit. And with that, taxing churches, FBOs will be counterproductive. Dr. Baumia says so. And Ghana receives ICAO Trainer Plus Silver Membership Award. Dr. Addison, African fintechs struggling for investment, and that's the New Finder. The Guardian publisher this morning says Dr. Atuahine Siga back new NIB MD, and it's Ghana's time to have a female VIP, says Reverend Dr. McQuaid, and ECOWAS Bank to inject $200 million into Ghanaian economy. APD 2025 to focus on bridging Africa's infrastructural gap. And ICAO honors Ghana with Train Air Plus Silver Award. That's the Ghanaian publisher this morning, and that's all for the newspapers. And let me introduce my guest in the studio, then we'll begin with our very first topic. Padre Vachidankwa is joining us this morning here on the show. It's been a while. We saw him as government spokesperson on governance and security, and it's good to see him after a long break, or a long, I don't even know how to call it.
Well, Kevin, a very good morning to you.
Oh, and, my producer says sabbatical.
Sabbatical is usually for 1 year.
Yeah.
But I mean, a very good morning to you and a very good morning to your viewers. And it's good to be back to the screen. You are aware and recall that I needed to go and defend my doctoral thesis, so I can be able to graduate. So next month, 29th of June, I'm graduating with my doctoral at the Nobel International Business School here in Accra, but then I'll do my final graduation in France in September. So that was the reason why many people didn't see me on set. And
so congratulations are in order.
Absolutely. In fact, after my graduation on the 1st of July, I'll bring my gown here.
No, you should.
Yes, I'll bring my gown
it's
here.
proper though.
That day that I come on set, I'll robe.
Yes,
Yes,
very
I'll robe to be here. But it's good to be here. And it's
so
good to see you.
we're still going to be adding Doctor to it.
Very much so, sir.
Oh my goodness, this is good. This is good. Oh, congratulations to you.
Thank
And
you very much, KMJ.
it's good to. These are things we love to see, you know. And yeah, bring it so that we can celebrate it. Adele will be excited.
I did back.
Adele Ibn Sheikh Umar Ibrahim is joining us this morning. He's always been here, and he's also representing the NDC team, the communication team member, and of course the man who is in charge of Director of Operations, Greater Accra Youth Wing, always making sure that we speak about issues here on the show. Adele, good morning. I hope you're good.
Good morning, KMJ. Good morning. I'm good. I'm awesome.
Awesome.
And you're very awesome.
Good
morning to D. Yes, the last week you weren't able to show. Yes. I figured. And then welcome to Joy Prime again, Paul Grave.
Thank you.
I would hold your robe while you come into the
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adele Ibn Sheikh Umar Ibrahim.
Plenty, yeah.
Nah, solid name. Solid.
Leah Iyopare is coming from the Movement for Change communications team member. He's also joined us here. He's also a family now. So, yeah, it's good to see him this morning. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. Yourself?
Oh, great.
Oh, good. Good.
Awesome. I'll tell you something that happened behind, the scenes. Now, one of our conversations, post-production conversations.
Okay.
A bit later, I'll tell you.
Okay. Off air, you mean?
Off air. No, it's about you, but we'll talk about
okay.
Off air, on air, it's all good. Apparently, my producers and my presenters, for example, some of them like your hair, the way you live it up.
The afro, yes.
The afro hair. Yeah. So
I usually wear like this when I'm going in for field operation. So last week I was out somewhere roaming around. Yeah.
So you disappointed them this morning by not bringing the afro.
But then we'll bring the afro back. Yes.
They love it.
Awesome.
So yeah, you don't like it?
I mean, it's cool. I love it. Except for if I can, I would probably do some. But well, it won't look good on me.
No, I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
When we come to power, you can grow it. I'll help you.
Yes,
that'll be good.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You can send your messages to us this morning. Let us know what you think. We're looking at the cocoa sector. What exactly is happening over there? And you may be aware that the cocoa industry used to be one of the biggest earnings when it comes to our economy. Unfortunately, it's been struggling. Now, Cocoa Board, which is supposed to make sure things get better, is also facing some difficulties. And we're asking what exactly is happening as far as our cocoa is concerned. And this morning, we'll be speaking to Kofi J to give us some update on what exactly the situation looks like. But I'm sure if you're a cocoa farmer, you're extremely worried about the way things are going and how we can even get better. Now, you remember that in some years past, if you're talking about the fact that we're doing farming in this country, cocoa would definitely be the one that I grew up from, the village where will be sent to the farms. You come back with cocoa pods. You remove them. You put it in the sand. You dry them. You take it. My dad used to work with quality control division, and so I see cocoa pods almost every single day. Sometimes you even carry them and make some money out of them because they will come buy them. Different companies will come and buy them, and so you are, even as young as you are into cocoa farming. And you go and then you collect your small money, even though the sack wouldn't be that big. The little that you can, you're able to make some money out of it. But I don't know how, people in the villages are making money off that now, because even the beans, getting the beans now is a problem, And so we want to take a look at it and see how best we can. But let me take your quick remarks on that, and then once Kofi joins us, we'll be able to take some more updates on that. I'll start with you, Patrick.
Yes, so KMJ, let me bring special greetings to you, and just to remind the Ghanaian people that the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is hosting the third biggest Africa Media Convention, which is beginning today and ending on Friday. And so there's going to be a lot of conversations. Ghana is hosting large numbers of journalists across the continent of Africa in their thousands of numbers. and also close to about 50 plus ministers of information from the continent of Africa are here in Accra for the next 3 days to hold conversations on best practices of journalism and also hold conversations on how they can be able to equip each other. And so the program is going to be held at the Labadi Beach Hotel, the opening and then the closing is going to be done at the Accra International Conference Center. And so I'm sure that all media houses are invited because it's very much open for everyone. And the sector minister, the Honorable Fatimatu Abubakar, together with the JIJ, co-chaired the steering committee. And so it's going to be an exciting time for media personnels and media persons. And you're invited. Cocoa is very key. You are aware that Ghana has been one of the major producers of cocoa.
Yeah.
And so you would hear people who state that Ghana is cocoa and cocoa is Ghana. But in recent times, I have seen that cocoa has had challenges across the trading market. And I'm not too sure what accounts for that. But one of the things that immediately comes to mind is how often you would find that the rich soil of cocoa also has some additional minerals in there. And so every now and then you would see there's a trade of the production of cocoa to the mining of a mineral. And I don't know whether that is what is accounting for the drop in cocoa, but I've seen reports and read statements of the struggling nature of cocoa. I think sometime last year, around September, cocoa dropped to about 80%, and the farmers have been very concerned about that. My admonition really to the cocoa industry is to ensure that Ghana continues to remain that competitive edge to be able to trade in cocoa and be able to ensure that we get the full benefit of the cocoa industry that we have in Ghana. We still have a lot more rich land that can grow cocoa. Ghana as an agrarian economy has a lot more viabilities in terms of cocoa production, and I'm certain that there are few things that are coming in from investors that will be able to protect the cocoa pod during that period. And so we'll see how the conversation goes, but we hope that we'll be able to restore the confidence that is so needed in cocoa beyond the other West African countries that are chasing to overtake us. Cote d'Ivoire and the likes.
Seem to be doing well,
yes,
actually.
seem to be doing very well in the global market. And so we'll look forward to this and see how it comes along.
Great. Other challenges that have been also accounted for this is the Galamsey issue, but we'll look at how that is causing a major issue. I'll come back to you. Adele.
Let me say one good morning to you once more and to my co-panelists on the platform today. I think that one of the issues or two of the issues that are critical to the cocoa sector is the fact that one, the Galamsey menace is actually playing a role in what we're seeing today. Aside the Galamsey menace, somewhere last year, 2023, this year, January, somewhere around the 24th of January, the Cocoa Post made a post indicating that some of our plants were basically shutting down. In fact, at the time, they indicated that Olam was to shut down approximately in another week because they didn't have, cocoa beans and the likes to process. So it's something that is basically worrying. You would also notice that, you would also notice that, the cocoa bean itself that, farmers need to plant was also becoming problematic. I have seen farmers who have indicated, for example, that they were willing to sell off their farms to Galamseyers because the amount of money they would receive from the Galamsey is pretty much, more than what they would actually ever get after sacrificing for years and years and then planting the cocoa, and then every year when it's time to make money, raking money becomes a problem. The bonuses and the increments of cocoa prices has also become a problem over the last 7 years. the last increment which took place, you saw the price of cocoa reaching close to about almost 8,000 Ghana cedis on the international market. And then the government is paying, cocoa farmers somewhere around, is it 2,000 something thereabout. And you're looking at the difference, of what is in there. Government is not planting anything. Government is not basically doing anything. They plant it, they sell it. When the price goes up, give them that increment, at least from 8,000, come towards 5,000, 5,500. It makes a lot of sense, but you find that even though the price of cocoa has hit 8,000 plus on the international market, we're giving a paltry 2,000 something thereabout, an increment from, I think, 1,400 thereabout. I'll check the facts and then make you have it. So all of this is a problem. I mean, the last time they met His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, they indicated to him that, listen, things are going really out of hand. We really need it rescued. To an extent that they actually accuse government of, collapsing some of the unions that have been speaking for them in order for, things to pretty much, work the way they want it to work. So for me, I think that, look, we need to do something. His Excellency has indicated, he said, look, he's placing his presidency on the line for this Galamsey thing. That Galamsey thing, we're all taking it for granted. KMJ, it's no joke. Like, the extent to which we have gotten to right now and how it's affecting, aside, issues that has to do with our cropping and all of that. The last time I indicated here how dangerous it is. You probably are sitting here and saying, oh, well, I'm not coming from, Ashanti region anywhere. I'm not coming from Prestia, Honey Valley, so whatever rivers are there and whatever problems are there, it's not a problem. What people don't get is the fact that we plant crops in these areas. These crops survive from these cyanide-infected water. Mm-hmm. You have animals, cows, sheep, goats, drinking from this water. That is a problem, Mm. So not too long ago, when the Central Region issue came up, when we spoke about the fact that mothers were giving birth to children without limbs, their limbs are not fully, grown and all of that, the doctors indicated that part of the reasons why that was happening is because they saw cyanide in the kids' bellies. And that is a problem. So you can imagine what that is doing to the cocoa sector. So even in terms of yield, you would know that our yield has actually dropped down. All of that is a problem. We're calling on the government. The people are struggling. It doesn't get any easier. KMJ, look, it is easy for somebody in Greater Accra to say, oh, I have 35 Ghana cedis and go and sit down in some joint somewhere like Paul and I will be doing in a week time, my birthday. It is easy to do that and then do some 100 Ghana cedis. When you go up in the village, 20 Ghana cedis, it's a problem. It's a huge issue, so we need to look at it. I mean, back in the day, when you had your cocoa funds being paid, you were able to probably buy a packet of roofing sheet. This is what they're saying. Today, when you sell, you can't even buy a packet of roofing sheet. That is a problem. So we need to really look at it. I think that the manner in which this thing is going is not really going to help anybody. And the former president has indicated we did a lot. We were giving free fertilizer. They came and decided selling it. Fertilizer that is meant for free. It's written not for sale fertilizer. Yet they were selling it. Why? They said they want to sell it at half the price. We need to up our game. It's just totally unacceptable.
Great. So in 2021 through 2022, the country were actually doing very well in cocoa production and the value of tons that they were producing at that time. Ivory Coast had 2 million tons. That's the production value that they had. Ghana was second, which was 680,000 tons. Ecuador was third with 365,000 tons. Cameroon is fourth, 295,000 tons. And if you go to Nigeria, they were number 5 with 280,000 tons. Now, top 5 cocoa producers, as of this moment, the production value year-on-year change that actually happens. Ivory Coast is still leading with 2.2 million tons, and year-on-year on change, they have plus 120,000. So they're increasing every time. Ghana has 654,000 tons, but year-on-year they actually reduce negative 29,000 tons, and that's what we're looking at. So it means that it's a huge problem from Ivory Coast that is adding plus 120, and Ghana that is doing minus 29. That's a big deal. Ecuador was 454,000, and we're making plus 89,000. Cameroon, 290,000. They're making minus 5,000. And Nigeria, 280,000, but they have no change. It's been very consistent when it comes to Nigeria year on. So that's what we are looking at. There's also the worry about the export value, which I'll let us take a look at in a couple of minutes. But let me come to you, Nian.
Right. So greetings to all our viewers out there, my colleagues here, and yes, let me just jump in straight from where you left off. The value addition process.
Yeah.
So the cocoa chocolate industry is about $100 billion plus, right? Yeah. So, but you look at what share are we getting from that? Yeah, that's the major thing. Now, the reason we're not making the major gains is because we're not adding any value to the beans or the cocoa beans, yes. We just export the raw beans outside. That's where the short change majority come from. But let's backtrack a little, right? How did we get here? So, before, production of crops was on a subsistence basis. So families, particularly in Africa, were only growing food so they can provide food for their families, and you sell the surpluses you have to get other things you don't have. That's how this thing started, right? Until you found out that certain systems changed, particularly with the land tenure systems. That's when certain people took control of the lands that we had. So you're looking at the Crown's Lands Bill from 1896 to 1897, the Lands Bill. These are things that we fought, against, yes. But what typically happened was, when the land was usurped, there was a system that was created where you have the landlords and the tenants, right? What you call classical feudalism, yes. So in this case, some people had ownership of the land, and those who used to depend on the land for their survival, their subsistence, what happened was they had to start trading their labor for either produce or wages. That's where the commercialization of labor started taking place, yes. So you go to the landlord who has the land, you offer your labor in exchange for some of the produce you're producing or wages. Now from that, the landlords decided to dictate what crops would be grown. So there was a specific or a bias towards cash crops as compared to food crops. So what we're growing for food was put on the side to promote what we could sell for money, the cash crops. So you're looking at the cocoa, the coffee, the cashews, all of those cash crops, right? Now, in any emergency situation, if you're looking for food, you don't go for the cash crops, you go for food crops.
Yeah.
But that system developed with incentives. So there were incentives that were specifically for cash crops. So if you needed to grow cocoa, you had subsidies on your fertilizers and all of those things that came. Even monies to expand your production, there was premium put on the cash crops as compared to the food crops. So a system has developed currently in Ghana where you have to spend over $200 million and over $100 million importing tomatoes and onions, which form the basis of almost everything that we eat here, right? That's why that system has developed. So we're rather importing food crops and trying to export cash crops. That's where this thing has come to. So with cocoa, you realize specific attention was given to cocoa because it's a cash crop. So like the initiatives you're talking about, the fertilizers, credit facilities to expand and all of those, yes. That's where the focus went to. What is happening right now is, because we're not adding value to the cocoa that we're producing, yes, we're not getting the major share from the market. So the farmers are struggling. Again, it comes down to management here. So even if you were selling the raw beans, right, based on the world market share, you're supposed to get certain monies, but those monies don't trickle down to the farmer, who is a basic producer. So all of these challenges coming up would put you in a situation where the farmer is looking at his yield he's making every year, and he's looking at the offer that will be made to him by Galamsey operators. Yes, he thinks that's a better business deal, so then he makes the trade. So it accounts for the consistently dwindling production values that we are having, right? Which is compounding to this problem. But what do we do at this stage we're in? Our neighbor right next door, Cote d'Ivoire, together with Ghana, we're producing globally over 60% of the cocoa production, over 60%. Cote d'Ivoire is actually making progress and increasing their yields, where Ghana is dwindling ours. To the point that there's been a major shortage of cocoa beans, to the point where you'll be hoping that the syndicated loans we're getting for the cocoa production was actually going to increase our production. But if you look at what goes into those loans, apparently, the monies that were supposed to increase production, we're using that to buy the beans from neighboring countries to export. I don't know who came up with that business deal, but we're ending up importing about 3,500 metric tons of cocoa from Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria. And it's not that we have a processing or a production industry here, so we're actually buying the beans here and then exporting. It does not make business sense, because you have to look at your cost of importation, right? The transportation of the beans and all that. That's an additional cost. So it's going to add up to what you're selling your beans for. Now, it will make economic sense. If I was going to buy beans from Cote d'Ivoire, who is a major producer, why would I buy from Cote d'Ivoire as compared to coming to buy from Ghana that would have to import from Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria to export? it does not make business sense, right? So I don't know who came up with that business module, but it clearly does not make sense.
Because you're not
anyhow.
producing quality pots, beams enough, and you needed to also stay in the same.
So instead of increasing
space
your
there,
production, you're actually importing from your neighbors and trying to sell those. So if I'm a businessman and I wanted to buy beans, right, cocoa beans, why would I come buy from you who would have to put extra cost on to make up for the profit margins than going to the neighbor who is actually a primary producer and I can get it relatively cheaper? I mean, that makes business sense.
You can't, I mean, cocoa is regulated by the government. You can't just move. It's one of those things. You can't just move, for example, if I'm a farmer, I can't just move to Cote d'Ivoire and then go and buy cocoa beans and then, transport it.
So I'm talking about...
He's talking about the government, right? You're making reference to the
government.
government.
Yes. I'm talking about the government.
Okay.
So government is importing 3,500 tons from Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, yes. And they bring the beans in here and then export that. So I'm saying it doesn't make sense, right? Another thing too is you realize Cocoa Board, which has been put in charge of handling everything cocoa, right, is the one that is fast-tracking some of this initiative I'm talking about, which does not make sense. So you realize that their debt stock has been increasing to the point that now, as of 2021, I think the last figures that came out says, the debt stock of Cocoa Board alone has reached some 2.5 billion.
1 billion.
Ghana cedis, right? That's just about 3.8% of our GDP. It does not make sense, because if you're doing something and it's not yielding positive results, it will only make sense that you review that and then make the necessary adjustments. But don't continue doing the same old things and expect to have different results. So I'm saying, this actually borders on causing financial loss to the state, because these initiatives don't make sense in any way. And what baffles me, the way we've sat down and we watched this as if nothing has happened, and the debt stock keeps increasing. Yeah. But you see, let's even go out of Africa for a second. Brazil is estimating, they're projecting they're going to increase their current production somewhere around 200,000 metric tons. They're looking at reaching 400 metric tons by 2030. And if you're going to bring in excuses of climate change, which most people are touting out for the excuse, dwindling production yield, Nigeria is just next door from us. Or Cote d'Ivoire is just, we share a border with Cote d'Ivoire. How are they increasing plus 200,000 metric tons every year? 120, I beg your pardon. Plus 120,000 tons every year. And we next door are complaining about climate change. What's the excuse? It does not really catch on, right? So far as that, Brazil is actually catching on. I hear China started producing cocoa as well. So you see, the competition in the market has become very, very huge. But if you look at the management from the government level, the things happening right now, there's no excuse for it. But what do we do as a country going forward? Yes. My suggestion would be, for a very long time, we've remained too dependent on cocoa as a cash crop, right? It wouldn't have been necessarily a bad thing, but the over-dependence on cocoa is accounting for some of these things. So realize the competition in the market is growing very large. You don't maintain the same strategy or the same production measures you've maintained over this period and expect to be playing in that market. It's very competitive. So what is government doing? I'm a little biased with this. I would have wanted us to pay a little more attention to production of food crops rather than cash crops. Yes, because I said, if you cast your mind back to the COVID period during the lockdown, you realize we couldn't even sustain feeding our people for like 3 months. The reason was our borders were shut down, so food could not actually come in, right? So we don't have food security. If we try to chase this thing and try to pump a lot more money to save our cocoa industry, what might happen in the long run would be that investment that would have gone to other productive sectors will be pushed down this leaking bucket, or basket if you like. If we're going to focus on cocoa, it shouldn't be just increasing production, but we should look at adding value to the raw material, which is the cocoa beans. So looking at going into production, and that would be where we can make the most gains. But like I'm saying, if you look at the chocolate industry right now, the major consumers of chocolate and chocolate products would be Europe and the West. How competitive would it be for Ghana to start producing those and export into those markets?
Because it's a very competitive market.
Very highly competitive, yes.
Very competitive.
And for you to reach that level of competition, to compete in those markets, the investments will have to be heavy. But I'm saying in this current situation we are in, we don't have the resources to be able to spread ourselves into all these other areas which need pressing attention.
So it's still back to square zero then?
Square zero. But so what I would say right now is that initiative to import cocoa beans for exportation should be cut off immediately.
And we should be looking at, most importantly, production.
Value addition. That would be the most gains we can make in the shortest possible time, yes. But that importation of the raw beans to export doesn't make business sense in any way. But I would like I say, just to wrap up, just to have attention put on the production of food crops rather than the cash crops, and at least when we have issues with our balance of payments, it will not affect our ability to import food, which will actually curb the possibility of famines and all of those things.
Great. Let me see if I can speak to Kofi J briefly. He's with us over here at Multimedia, works for Joy News. And Kofi, if you can hear me, good morning.
Good morning, KMJ.
Hello, Kofi.
Can you hear me, KMJ?
Good, I can hear you much better. The cocoa industry, what don't we know? We've seen that there has been some serious issues when it comes to the cocoa beans itself. I mean, exports and all of that. Why are we here?
Well, we are here because there are about 3 or 4 factors affecting global cocoa producing companies. And I'm talking about climate issues, swollen shoot disease, and the fact that we have to deal with overgrown cocoa trees and other factors. But there's one particular problem that is not the problem of Ivory Coast, not the problem of Nigeria, neither is it the problem of Cameroon or any country,
Ecuador,
Brazil, or who are also producing cocoa. It is the problem of Ghana and Ghana alone, which you all know. I'm talking about galamsey or illegal mining, but is gradually becoming a factor. First, when you are talking about low cocoa yields, we definitely will not talk about galamsey. We will be talking about fertilizer and then improved seedlings and what have you. But right now, the key problem is the illegal mining that cannot survive with cocoa at the moment. There's no way you can talk about cocoa now without mentioning illegal mining. For instance, if we look at a country that just about 3 or 4 years ago was able to produce over 1 million metric tons of cocoa and has now reduced from that 1 million metric tons to less than 600,000 metric tons. That should tell you the magnitude of shift that we've come in just a short period of time. Now, I mean, I've been listening to the conversation and, the fact that we have to add, value to the raw materials and all of that. But the issue is you are adding the value for who? Because as a country, I mean, you don't really consume the cocoa that you are even producing or planting. And if you are adding value, are you adding value to sell to the Netherlands, or you're adding value to sell to any country in Europe who are already they've set up to add value to cocoa? So are you going to compete with them and add value? So the conversation is a bit broad. I like the fact that we need to add value, but we have to start thinking about how different can we add value so that it wouldn't be a competition between we and the European country, because already the Netherlands has set up itself as the middleman in Europe. So instead of we selling the cocoa beans directly to different countries, we now sell majority of the cocoa to the Netherlands, and they now become the middleman and then distribute or sell to other European countries. And so they are becoming a big guy in this industry. And one big problem that Ghana faces as a country that produces cocoa, not just Ghana, is the fact that even before we enter or begin a new season, the cocoa that we expect to harvest is actually collateralized. And let me say this, the cocoa you see or the cocoa beans we talk about is not something that at every point in time the government has 100% control over. So it is divided into two. We have the 60% which goes into forward sales and 40% that we usually hold as security. Now, why do we do forward sales? Because we know as a country, our cedi is not really stable. And so we use what we call the syndicated loan that we get from the cocoa board to actually, help us, show up the cedi and all of that. And so before we even start harvesting the beans, we go for loans and we sell the cocoa in advance. So before we even start a planting season, the cocoa beans we are expecting, we've given an assurance to a group of banks who then give us money, about $800 million or $1 billion. And before we even start, I mean, we've collateralized those cocoa beans and all of that. This year, for instance, we've been looking at the data and we've seen that if something is not really done about the cocoa industry, it will definitely not become that backbone, cash crop that has been helping the economy. We've been looking at the yields or the export value for the first 2 months of of the years. And we've been tracking this since 2015. And what you see is that if you compare this year, the first 2 months, that's January to February, to that of last year. Last year, the first 2 months, we were able to export cocoa worth $711 million, $11 million. And this year, we are talking about a little above $500 million. So we've lost close to $200 million there. What is really the problem? And so cocoa is gradually losing its position as one of the cash crop that has been the backbone of the Ghanaian economy. Now, if you are ranking even the big guys who bring in, forex, cocoa, you can't even say it is number 3 anymore. It used to be number 2. It used to be number 1 some time ago. But now you can't even talk about it anymore because, remittances and tourism are all bringing in more than what possibly cocoa will bring if you do all the seasonalization of the total exports. And so, yes, we all have problems, but the issue of galamsey is peculiar to Ghana and Ghana. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Kofi, I'm going to let you share some figures with us, but part with Ashia, he may not be able to stay with us that long. So I want to get his opinion on this. Now, where I want us to get to right now is Cocoa Board. Cocoa Board's troubles never ends. And like we all know, they play a major role in this. How do we solve that issues at Cocoa Board?
KMJ, I think that cocoa is a very important conversation. And the amount of time that we have for the morning show might not give us an extensive opportunity to expand on the challenges that cocoa is having. I would suggest that based on what Kofi J has been stating, it would be good maybe within the very shortest possible time as the cocoa season is about to open in June, to have an extensive conversation with the key players in that industry. From Cocoa Board, they have a sector PR who responds very well to cocoa issues, to the Cocoa Board MD, also to the sector minister. Invite them and then have some extensive conversations to be able to see what government's position is and what government's response is. As I sit here now, all I have readily is that, yes, there are challenges within the cocoa industry. Prices are falling. Cocoa farmers are complaining. Like I stated, cocoa has a real opportunity of having a lot more minerals underneath. Yeah. And so every now and then you will realize that other people are trading their investment in cocoa to one who wants to either enter into responsible mining. And that's the overarching goal. But it will be good for us to see to it that we don't lose out the tenants of our cocoa. Because if you recall, one of the 20 peso coin has the cocoa pod on it. And that is what...
The value that we place.
That is what a lot of the world players are aware, that Ghana is for cocoa and for gold. And so it will be good for us to extend the conversations in that regard.
All right. Kofi, let me get to you. Can you help us with some of the figures real quick, and then we'll get back to the studio? Okay, I think we've lost Kofi over there. But Adele,
KMJ.
Your position with Cocoa Board. Too many issues on Cocoa Board. Okay, Adele, forgive me. Let me just, I want to just finish with Kofi, and then we can get back. Kofi, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So let's see some of the figures. Earlier you mentioned the differences. What are some of the figures that we need to know? How scary are they?
Well, there's one that is actually interesting. If you look at what we've been doing, we call it the gap analysis, trying to see or compare Ghana to the Ivory Coast in terms of cocoa production. And on screens right now is some of the problems we spoke about, 5 of them, and one being peculiar to Ghana. The gap analysis shows the gap is widening between Ghana and the Ivory Coast in terms of cocoa production. And I heard you speak about the share, or I think one of the guests spoke about the share on the global markets. Gradually, we are moving from that enviable 20% globally to now somewhere around 13%. And according to an SBM intelligence research, we could fall below 10% very soon if galamsey continues. So gradually, Ghana is losing its position as, one of the world's, powerhouse in terms of cocoa production. And Ivory Coast is really, really giving us, that gap in terms of the race. I don't know how they were able to move from. We were beating them some time ago, but the fact that the gap keeps widening, and when all the countries are falling, Ivory Coast is still falling within the region of a million metric tons, and all other countries are falling below the 1 million metric tons mark. And so I was speaking about cocoa being a forex earner, and we all know what is happening to the city currently. When you have a booming cocoa industry, it is expected to translate into your city or your currency also performing positively along. But we have not seen that currently, and the reason why we've not seen that is because of the problems the cocoa board is facing. We are currently under an IMF program, and it will shock you that some of the things that cocoa board used to do to support the cocoa farmers, if you go into the IMF program, cocoa board is now precluded from doing a number of things. One is the provision of fertilizers at this very subsidized level to farmers. They are not allowed to do that anymore. Some of the quasi, functions that cocoa board used to do, like the feeder roads that they used to, do for the cocoa, beans to get from the farms, for us to get to the port. All of these things are being restricted by the IMF or the IMF program. And it will shock you to know that cocoa board, for instance, their loans or their debt currently has reached 19 billion Ghana. That's as of 2021. And in 2021, just like you see on your screens, when we had one of our best yields, where we were able to export, or the yield was more than 1 million metric tons, that was the same year that cocoa board decided to increase their operational cost by more than 50%. They moved from some 500,000 Ghana cedis, to 500 million Ghana cedis to above 1 billion, Ghana cedis. That was cocoa board's, operational cost. And we are all wondering why, even that year when cocoa board was able to, the yield was, above, 1 million, why Ghana could not get a lot from cocoa in that 2021 season. And you see the widening gap between Ghana and Ivory Coast on your screens in terms of the metric tons, the production. And Ivory Coast is falling, all right, but it's still within the 1 million mark. And Ghana is now slightly, below, let's say, 600,000 metric tons. It is projected that we could even fall within the regions of just 500,000 metric tons. And so the gap keeps widening. But what is happening has now become an advantage to countries like Cameroon, who are also catching up. And you see a DW report that says that, farmers are now cashing in Cameroon because they were not really like the go-to platform when it comes to cocoa beans. But because Ghana and Ivory Coast are facing challenges, other worlds, those who import cocoa are now looking at Cameroon, and then also other countries like Ecuador and Nigeria. Now, the cocoa industry has its own challenges. And one of the challenges that I've spoken about has to do with the fact that the industry is racking up debt very quickly. And the fact that it's losing its value on the exchange rates table as one of the leading, earners of exchange rates. And you can see on your screens the rates now, which the El Nino disease is now over, which means that Ecuador and Brazil now have the breathing space to, produce more. But one problem that the Ghanaian market has is the fact that our beans are all collateralized, almost all collateralized. We say we keep 40% for security, but because of the shortages, we always end up going into our buffers to make sure that we are able to produce the cocoa beans that we've assured our syndicated banks who gives us the loans. Now, let me show you how the European market is taking advantage of countries who are producing like Ghana and Ivory Coast. Now, they know that the cocoa price rose as high as I think one ton was to I think $10,000 was selling for, I think, 1 ton. And if you look at 10,000 tons, I think so. If you look at that, they didn't really like the fact that the price has risen to that $10,000, and we saw that it was falling below that mark, reaching around 8,000 and 9,000 metric ton, dollars per ton. Now, the reason why they are putting out a strategy to make sure that the price falls is because they know if they allow the price to stay same, governments like Ghana and Ivory Coast will use this price as the benchmark to price cocoa in the coming season. And it means that last season we were using 1,900, a little about $1,900 as the price per ton. And that was what we use as a benchmark to give the farmers that 60% increase in price. So it means that going into a season and we have the chance to benchmark the price as 9,000, countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast and all other producing countries will benefit. But the cocoa industry across the world know, and they don't want to pay such a high price. So what they are doing is that they are lowering their demand so that, it's basic economics. When supply stays the same and demand keeps decreasing, what happens to price is that price will fall. And they want price to fall at the normal level, let's say $2,000 or $1,900, so that they can now start purchasing or now start their, purchasing of cocoa in the different countries.
Okay.
And which means a disadvantage for all of us. We should find ways and means. I don't know what happened to the agreement Ghana signed with Ivory Coast anyway to make sure that they are able to get a certain high price. This is the moment that we have the industry at hand. We have a certain control. But how are we going to do it? We can't really have the control because one of the key players, which is Ghana, already is owing a lot in the cocoa, in the cocoa syndicated loan sector, where currently it is even restructuring its T-bills that is sold to local, investors.
Kofi, thank you. Thank you very much. You see, one time when you speak about cocoa, the pride as a Ghanaian you use in talking about cocoa, I'm not sure we have the same pride right now.
Yes, well, KJ, very, very challenging time for the cocoa industry. But I also remain very optimistic that
I think we'll get better with
we'll
this.
get better. And like I've stated, I think it will be good for us to have a broader conversation, calling the key players from the cocoa board, call the CEO, call the team that are there to give us a proper perspective of why we are having these challenges. And I'm certain that they should be working on a plan because Ghana is cocoa and cocoa is Ghana. We don't want to lose that to the value of other minerals that we still have in this country that we are encouraging other people to mine responsibly.
Great. Before you go, maybe you could just say a few words on the limited registration that is ongoing. So far, so good?
Well, so far, so good. I feel that the Electoral Commission could have done a few things much better because since 2012, we've been doing this biometric system. And so this would be our fourth election that we're going to be using the biometric system to ensure that people are eligible to be able to cast their votes. The year 2024 proposes to be one of the most interesting years for close to about 64 countries in the world that are going into elections. That puts the total population of about 43% of the world's population going for election. Last week, Panama voted for their leader. Russia has voted. India has voted. South Africa is going to vote. Senegal has voted. And so there are a number of countries that are going into a major election. The Electoral Commission has stated that they're expecting a sizable number of people who will be added to the registration to about maybe 623,000 people, thereabout, inclusion. And from the 2021 population census, we are aware that close to about 450,000 people turn 18 every single year. And so I've been monitoring the exercise. There are various political parties who have agents at the various registration centers. I have been on a personal advocacy to admonish all political parties and all political players and actors to discourage minors from going to register. I think that our country has come of age. We need to be responsible for the decisions that we make, and we need to ensure that people that are at 18 and above 18 in accordance to the Constitution are those that are credible and are those that must be given the opportunity to register. And so on a personal campaign to encourage all political parties, all political actors to discourage minors who are 14, who are 15, who are 16, who are 17 and a half, who are 17 and 11 months, 17 and 11
if you're not
months,
18, you're not
20
18.
days, you are not 18. Just stay away from it. And also, I've seen that the Ghana Police Service has brought out a communique to discourage people from ensuring that they are causing mayhem in the various registration centers. And so I add my voice as well to that communique to ensure that if you go and register peacefully. And every single person whose data is captured in the registration exercise would have their data given to the various political parties. And so I would encourage that the various political parties should exercise some restraint, particularly the opposition party who are calling on various serial numbers of the BVRs to be able to verify the number of people that are being registered at various places and things like that. I would state that if you feel that persons who are not eligible have been captured, there are regulations and requirements that you can go through to make sure that their names are expunged from the voters register. I still repose trust and confidence in the Electoral Commission of Ghana as one of the single arbiter to ensure that we have a free, fair, transparent election process this year. And so we'll see the days that are coming ahead. Those that have been arrested by the police, I'm sure certain investigations are ongoing, would follow the conversations to be able to see that this registration exercise will be clean, will be fair, will be transparent, and would be a true record of the number of people that are due to vote in the December elections. You are aware as well that Ghana's population has increased a bit by 2 million. And so now we're aging to about 34 million people, which estimates that the number that we had for people voting in the 2020 election, which is about 17 million plus people, is estimated to increase maybe about 18.8 or about 19 million people who would be in the register. So we want to follow the processes and see that it's free, it's fair, it's transparent, and Ghana will continue to remain the peace and the beacon of democracy in the sub-region of West Africa.
Great, especially exactly what the president promised, and he's been talking about since free, fair, transparent elections is what he's promised us. We'll be on lookout for that. Let me say a big thank you to you this morning for joining us. We're not done yet, but Pagri would have to excuse us for equally other important activities as well. So speaking about the registrations and all that, now as we approach a crucial moment in our nation's history, it's time for us all to stand up and make our voices heard. Are you ready to be part of shaping our future? Have you ever found yourself frustrated with the state of affairs in our country? Do you long for change, for progress, for a better tomorrow? That's a big question we're asking. Well, guess what? Change starts with you. But wait, are you missing something essential for this change to happen? Yes, I'm talking about your voter card. If you've lost it or never had one, now is the time to actually act. Don't let others decide for you. Don't stay silent. Get up, get out there, and get your voter ID card today. Make sure you are ready to make the difference when the time comes. The new voter card registration begins. It actually started on the 7th to the 27th of May and on May 30th as well. You can get your missing voter ID cards replaced at the EC district offices. Don't miss this moment because this is your time to be heard. The future of our nation is in your hands. Don't delay. Act now. For support and enquiries, dial 0531100081. That's 0531100081 or visit the New Force GH at the New Force GH. The message you heard is from the New Force, and it's all about making sure that you also get your voice heard. Now, the new Malta Guinness Ginger can is out there and it's making the difference. A lot of people are enjoying it. Vitamins B is full of it, and you want to also get yours right now and make sure you have that exciting moment you've always wanted to have with your family. And make sure anytime you're buying for the entire family, all right? Yes, it's sleek, it's rich in vitamins, and you need that. The Malta Guinness Ginger can is out there, and everybody is loving it. So always do remember to take a picture and send it to us on a WhatsApp. You never can tell. We might just surprise you with a can. We might just surprise you with a box of Malta Guinness, just so you're able to also have a good time with the entire family. All right, that's what we're talking about. Make sure you're part of that. The news flash is proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise from Papa Pafie, and we'll be going to the Upper West region to get some conversations around the ongoing limited voters registration. Before that, Just Turn 18 shows every Saturday at 10 a.m. We're bringing you updates on these wonderful young people that have turned 18 and what they seek to also, contribute to the development of Ghana as far as voting for the first time is concerned. It's shown on Joy Prime every Saturday at 10 a.m. Make sure you catch that. It's Just Turned 18, and Lois has got so many updates that she'll be sharing with you this coming Saturday. And Trotro Diaries comes your way Saturdays at 11 a.m. sharp, right after Just Turned 18. Make sure you also tune in. What are some of the memories you have when it comes to Trotro? And we were sharing a lot of them on the show, so do well to join in and be part of that conversation as well. BMPS is also airing every Thursday at 9 p.m. Every Thursdays at 9 p.m. Make sure you also tune in and catch Kofi Ford and the Boys. They have a lot to talk about, and you want to be a part of that as well. And right now, we go to the Upper West region. We have actually had allegations of foreigners who have been intercepted in Lambusi, and also minors that have been discovered in Nandom as well. Now, let me speak to Mustafa Bande, NDC Deputy General Secretary, to give us some update on that. Mustafa, if you can hear me, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Can you hear me?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, my brother.
Good. Thanks a lot for the time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. We understand that there's some issues going up west with regards to the limited registration. What do we know?
So, it's very simple. The MPP have decided that the only way they can break the 8 is to allow minors, young people, innocent young Ghanaians, who eventually may be perpetrating a criminal offense, and foreigners will be the ones to retain them in power in terms of breaking their 8. And so they are doing everything possible to flood the registration process with minors and foreigners. I did state it in my engagement that one thing the NDC would do to fault and without apology is to ensure that what is lawful, what is right, what is acceptable within the remits of the Constitution is what will be done. It doesn't matter how powerful, how strong anybody is. We will not allow them to do that injustice to the people of Ghana. What is even shocking is that in the constituency of the former Minister of Interior, who well understands the implication of foreigners on our data, which we extrapolate into a lot of statistical analysis that affect our population, that affect our food security, that affect our generation, should not be the one to do that. But contrary to what is right, in his constituency is where you see those minors being paraded to come and register. There, you will see in the pictures the NADMO coordinator of the MPP in Nandom constituency. You will see he's called Sam Mwane Derry. He actually relates to the former Minister of Interior, Honorable Ambrose Derry. And then the one in the black cap, you see one of them, who is Edmond Wagner Ayer, who is also the MPP Research Director of the Nandom constituency, aiding minors and coaching them to go and register. These are practical evidence of the accomplishment of the MPP in this bad act. I've also shared pictures in another constituency called Lambuse, where the MPP have brought in foreigners from Burkina to come and register. But for the vigilance of the officers present, the police, the EC officers, and the NDC, they would have succeeded in registering those foreigners onto our database. And, the people who were questioned and they cannot even register, mention their name, and their surnames are Burkinabe names. Yesterday, around 4:03 p.m., the MP for Zabzugu Tatale had brought him over 80 Togolese to come and register.
Mr. Gwande, how are we able to identify these people that they're not Ghanaians, but they are Togolese?
Well, one, you can identify someone by familiar traits in terms of even how we look. And I must say that even if you go to those towns or those constituencies which are border towns, you will see that someone works in Ghana but also lives in another country. Those are different cases. It's simple to detect those ones. Even sometimes they are dress code. Sometimes they are surname. Sometimes they are not able to even speak any of our local or familiar languages. Many times, you will find out that their surnames, and because we know these things, their surnames are not familiar Ghanaian names. I had gone to a bank one day to open a bank account, and the bank manager refused me at the Ghana Commercial Bank. When I asked him why he is not opening my bank account, he says, I'm not a Ghanaian, I'm a Burkinabe. I asked her why. She says, the name Bandi, she read it as Bene, and Bene is a Burkinabe family. So it's easy to identify these things, particularly when the people who are accomplices in this become so notorious that they insist that, yes, they are foreigners, but they will register. Is the case of Zabzugu Tatale. And this is how most of them win elections. When they finish, then they say, oh, when they are caught, then they begin to sing the mantra of both NDC and MPP are doing same. MDC and MPP as two political parties are distinct. We are never the same, even in terms of how we manage ourselves, in terms of how we manage a country, in terms of how our political philosophy and ideas are. They are very different. The NDC stands for something different. The MPP does stands for something different. Whenever the NDC is in power, it is poor people who get a lot of money, and also rich people who get a lot of money. If the other ones are in power, it's a select few. And you have seen it manifest itself. So, indeed, this is what is manifested in our registration. And condemnable is the one that is coming from the constituency of the former Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrose Derry's constituency. It's shameful.
Mr. Banda, you also mentioned that there were some minors as well. How are we able to identify those minors too as well? And what have we done with regards to that?
We have found out that the MPP, because they are in power, through NIA, they have printed some Ghana cards, even for young people. And so if you don't check well, the person comes to the place there and holding a Ghana card, and you think that he's 18. He's not 18 yet. He's actually 14, 15. Some of them, because of the guarantor system, they come and then they are able to guarantee. If you don't defend or stand your ground, then they end up registering them to be part of
These were the information you gathered from the minors that came, or it's your own assessment of the situation?
I have to know in order to be able to fight that as a crime. This is how they do it. And that is what I'm saying. I just gave you a clear evidence, and I've sent your producer other evidence of government officials, a NADMO coordinator at a particular location, aiding the minors what to come and say. We have placed strong surveillance as far as this registration process is concerned. Because all we need to know is to have evidence enough to ensure that the public is aware of what the MPP intends to do.
So what's the NDC going to be doing about it moving forward?
We are fighting it. We prevented all these people. I told you that it is an Operation Positive Defiance and a registration that will not conform to anything that is illegal. And trust me, we will ensure that the MPP will not go, get away with this kind of tactics of using maneuvering data to be able to win an election. One other thing they are doing is that if they know that as a particular constituency they can never win, they move people from that constituency, targeting constituencies where they require some numbers to be able to win. That is what they are doing. And we are preventing that.
Okay.
Because the people by law are not ordinary residents. They are not. And if you are not ordinary residents, you should not be part of voting in a particular constituency, like the way Apenyo Markins is doing in his constituency. 80% of the people who vote for Apenyo Markins are not from Eputu. They are people he actually bars from outside Eputu constituency to come and vote for him.
All right. Very well. Mr. Van, thanks so much for the time this morning. If we need any other clarification, we'll definitely come back to you, but we appreciate your time this morning.
I'm very much grateful.
Great. That's the Deputy General Secretary for the NDC, Mustafa Bandi. Some allegations of individuals that have been intercepted who happen to be foreigners in the Upper West region, and some minors who also been discovered in Nandom as well. And these are allegations from the NDC as far as the limited registration, voters registration is concerned. So as and when we get any other updates, we'll definitely keep you up to speed on that. And also we'll be finding out from the other side of the divide, indeed, what exactly the situation looks like when we're able to do so. And so that's what. Let me come back to the studio. I've got some of your messages. I'll be checking them very soon. But after a record 13 rounds of Olaro-Timi's The Gods Are Not to Blame, Image Bureau, April Communications and the National Theatre have reconvened again for another theatrical adventure. Now, this June, dive deep into the heart of Ghanaian theatre as National makes a directing debut with The Legend of Akusika in honor of the writer Professor Martin Owusu. Now, book a seat now for a mind-blowing dramatic experience with some of the finest talents in the business. Mauli Semevo, Edna Matati, Elvis Crystal, and other Samoa Bedu. And for the first time on stage at Duma. Now, come, let's celebrate the legendary professor on Saturday, the 1st, Sunday, the 2nd, and Saturday, the 8th, and Sunday, the 9th of June at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. each day at the National Theatre. Tickets are selling for only 200 Ghana cedis at imagebureau.com, or you can dial *714*11 *21#. The Legend of Akusika is supported by the Ghana Tourism Authority, Me Plants Car Rentals, MGL Logistics, Joy FM, Heads Joy Prime, Daily Guide, Graphic Communications Group, and proudly brought to you by Stanbic Bank, the National Lottery Authority. The Legend of Akusika Theatre doesn't get better than this. Make sure you go and catch the play as well. Let me do a couple of messages and then I come back to the studio. This one over here says, Mensa Majid from Bechem, Toronto. It says, NPP have started deceiving people that JDM will cancel free SHS when voted into power. This is palpable falsehood spreading by their communicators, but it won't work for them again. The only messiah to rescue us from thievery, lawlessness, mismanagement, lies, and economic hardship is JDM. The 24 economy is a game changer and it will reduce unemployment rate by 98%. In fact, Honorable Charles Akwesi Asiedu is doing wonders in Tano South constituency. The constituency has been muted since I voted for Honorable Secretary Yeboah Benjamin, but through Honorable Charles Akwesi Asiedu, the developmental projects have been spreading across the length and breadth of the constituency. Let's vote massively for Honorable Charles Akwesi Asiedu come December 7th. My regards to workaholic incoming MP for Tano South constituency, Honorable Charles Akwesi Asiedu. This one over here says that it's coming from Kwame Acidity for Chirensua says enough is enough. It's time Ghanaians should come together and kick out super incompetent President Akufo-Addo Bawumia government from power. Ghanaians have never experienced this abysmal performance under NPP government before. NPP is heading to opposition. Nothing can save them. My regards to Honorable Alhaji Collins Dawda, MP for Asutifi South. Another one over here says that, my brother, this NPP man is protecting his position in office, so me, I don't like him. He's always making noise on political. Good morning, host. Please ask Vice, where is my Alawa? Okay, he's asking the Vice President, where is Alawa? Which of the Alawas are you talking about, though? National Service? Okay. Let me go this way and see what we have over there. Akonsi Gariba from Tamale, and it says, if we're serious and really want to stop galamsey, wherever we find people doing galamsey, the DCE in that area should be fired and the chief in the town should be destooled. Now, if you can't do the two solutions I'd suggested, then we should stop talking about fighting galamsey. BMW is possible on the 7th of December, 2024. Let me go to this one and says, Alassam Sese from Zeno Central says, the confusion based in the registration of minors as this year limited registration is largely caused by the Electoral Commission, especially the registration of minors would have minimized if the registrations were held at electoral areas where people know each other better. In fact, this current Electoral Commission is not in to help our democracy at all. Now, another one over here says, good morning. Please ask the NPP man, does he know the dollar rate as of now is 15, as of today, 15th May 2024, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate would expose you. And that's from Kwabena Nino in Techiman, sent in that one as well. This one says, good morning to you. The Ghana cocoa industry is facing significant challenges. There are opportunities for growth and revitalization by investing in modern farming practices, technology, and sustainability initiatives. Ghana can potentially overcome the challenges it is currently facing and ensure the long-term viability of its cocoa industry. However, it will require concerted effort from the government, industry stakeholders, and the international community to ensure that the Ghana cocoa industry does not die but thrives in the years to come. Aaron Babakoko Komisa sent in that one too. Let me see. I can have the last one and then we'll go back. This one says that, this one over here is coming from Honorable Akisme in Sashi Bekwai. It says, good morning, my man, KNJ to the whole week. I say, if I don't read this message, I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of issues on Friday. So let me do exactly that. It says, the galamsey menace has been a long-standing challenge for Ghana, but unfortunately, it has worsened under the end, another government. Despite promises to tackle the issue, the administration's efforts have been inadequate and ineffective. The government's failure to enforce laws and regulations has emboldened illegal miners, leading to devastating environmental degradation and water pollution. The recent expose by the media has revealed the shocking extent of the problem. It is clear that the government's rhetoric doesn't match their actions. Ghanaians demand action, not just words. Regards to A&A, Drinking Water Manager, Master GE, inside Sashi Bekwai. That's from Honorable Akisme in Sashi Bekwai. Let me get back to the studio. Adele.
I want to basically just give the president a reminder. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا.
That's Arabic.
That's Arabic. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ.
The president will not understand this.
I'll translate.
We want
When it is said to them, do not create mischief, don't create problems, don't create chaos, don't create confusion. They say, verily, we are the peacemakers. Yeah, that's what they say. They say, oh, we are the peacemakers, you know.
Are they not?
KMJ, your proverb this morning, when the roots are deep enough, there's no need to fear
The wind.
the wind. When you have created what you say you have created, and you have bettered the lives of the people of Ghana, why all this gimmick? Why all this ploy? If you have cemented your grounds, and you say that the lives of Ghanaians are better than 2016, why all these games? Like, what are you going to get out of it? KMJ, the Electoral Commission and His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo are pretty much in bed. And do you know what I see? You know, the president is acting like that insecure father who has a son who cannot fight his own battles, but has to always come in to support him to fight that battle. What is with all these connection with the easy? What's that? KMJ, to illustrate, my brother here and myself, Ni, we're supposed to walk to where your cameras are and then pick up the stones that are there and come drop it inside this cup, this mug. Before we move, before the bell is blown for us to go and pick up the stone and drop inside this mug, I decide to walk to the stone and tie a rope to the stone and then bring it close to me and just stand here. Because bottom line, all you have to do is put the stone in the mug. Whether I move there or I don't move there. Everybody else is quiet and they're watching. Peace Council, quiet and they're watching. For those who are speaking like the Kodio, nobody's listening. And then when I say, when he says, Adele, but why are you doing that? You know, that is cheating. Adele says, listen, if you foment trouble, I will deal with you. Like Mustafa Salam is telling Asirun Ketia. So you're telling us that even though you're cheating us and you know we can see Apia Hene there, you know we can see Haja Salima in Electoral Commission, we can see all these footages like my senior brother, Bande, indicated that all these young people that you're bringing in to register, and you know critically that your roots are not well fermented. You're telling us not to rebel. You're telling us to just sit down and allow you to do it. I am asking the president this morning, His Excellency, if anybody walked into your house and looked at your wife or looked at your children and fermented trouble, you will sit down and watch them. No, it doesn't make any sense. If anybody placed you on the floor, Your Excellency, on the floor and placed his hands on your neck, pressing down, you won't fight back. Careful, care. To Salam, to all of them. You see, what they have to understand is that this country belongs to each and every one of us, from everybody, from the cameraman, from the bugler, what do you call it, the organizer, everybody, the hairdresser, everybody. This country doesn't belong to any single person. I have a stake. And we're asking that the right thing should be done. So care should be sent. Last week, I was here with you. I was having a major argument with Fahad. You remember?
Yeah.
And then I indicated that Apia Hene is on the Electoral Commission. He argued. I wish the producers would actually play that video. I indicated that I was going to make the video available. I've given it to Sheila. This is what you're doing. Kodio is telling Apia Hene and telling Salima, listen, we know the president has said, I will not take them out. Peace Council, after we wrote to them, Peace Council is telling us, well, the president has already selected him. There's nothing we can do about it. So Kodio is saying, look, do the honorable thing and resign in order for our election to look beautiful. They say no. So we're saying, I'm asking everybody, I'm asking the president that, so if you're doing all these things to us, you're expecting us to keep quiet and be okay. And everybody in this country, from the chief imam's office, from the Christian council to everybody in this country is watching. We're reminding you, you're all watching, you're seeing what is happening. We're being cheated openly and nobody can say anything. When it is time for us to do our own, let no one say that we're fomenting trouble.
Very well. Now, let's take a look at that video. When I come back, Nia, you will have this take. The video Adele spoke about briefly.
Tijani appointments as members of the Electoral Commission has generated considerable backlash. Cordeo is warning that these appointments have the tendency to make the EC look partisan and affect the credibility of future elections.
We are painfully aware that voluntary and constitutionally grounded revocation of these unfortunate and democratically problematic EC appointments by the president is extremely unlikely. However, nothing stops the affected appointees, namely Dr. Peter Piahini and Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani, from voluntarily and honorably resigning from membership of the EC. This will be in the supreme interest of our country's continued democratic progress, election peace and credibility, and indeed the overall national interest. Since the announcement of his appointment as a member of the EC, social media postings have revealed that Dr. Piahini is an activist of the New Patriotic Party, the Bono region. In one social media comment on January 2021 headed Dr. Piahini for Bono region, Dr. Piahini is featured on an NPP labeled flyer as one of the 6 prospects for the position of the Bono regional minister.
So I remember Adele made made mention of that issue, and Fowler actually disagreed, and so that's the video that you saw over there. Let me come to you, Lee.
So,
limited voters registration.
Yes,
and it issues
right
every single day.
Right. So this has come up. No, this is the first time things like this are coming up. Yes, we've been experiencing these challenges from '92, right, when Ghana went into the next trial for democracy, as we claim it to be. Yes. Even if I touch on the real issues, I have said several times that democracy, or the expression of the practice of democracy, is not just an event. It's not just a one-time event like an election. An election is part of the democratic process, but an election is not by itself democracy in all of its sense, right? There are other things that come into play. So you have the rule of law, equality before the law, and all of those things. These things are major pillars of democracy. But then the question to ask is Ghana really a democracy? Because the only time it seems the citizenry is directly engaged in the democratic process is only once in every 4 years. After the election process, when else are the general public involved in anything apart from the paying of taxes? When they're going to pass any major policy or initiative from the government, the people are not consulted. Even when the people are consulted, they express displeasure, particularly the e-levy. When Ghanaians came out in their numbers and said, we do not want e-levy to be passed, they came out with impunity and said they were going to do it. So then again, you ask yourself, apart from the periodic elections we have once in every 4 years, what other expression of democracy?
You wouldn't say the parliament's representations speak for the people, and so if you're from my constituency, you're acting on my behalf.
Right.
And so if I don't want something, you should vehemently fight for it in parliament. So that's the reason why you're.
So then again, the case instead it would be the e-levy. The people spoke against e-levy and said we don't want it. Their members in parliament voted to pass it. And e-levy became.
So they disappointed the people.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. What then is a direct expression of democracy, which we claim we are in? Yes. That if the people speak and there's a mandate of the people for you elected officials to serve, when the people make exactly, then that cannot be set in democracy. And I'm saying democracy is not an event where you say people go and cast their vote once in every 4 years. That's where everything has been limited to. So for Ghanaians to feel the part of democracy, this is where it lies. It's only once in every 4 years when the people go to the ballot to go cast their votes. And even with that, many more Ghanaians are disenfranchised. They are prevented from expressing their right, right? So you even see, even with democracy that's been limited to just an event, not every Ghanaian has the equal access to participate in that. That's just one thing I wanted to say in passing. Now, to this limited voter registration exercise, I was saying before that it's not the first time we've experienced these problems happening, right? It seems there's a recurrent theme every single election cycle. We have these same issues, the voting registration of minors and all of these other issues come up here. One other thing that came up sometime earlier this year was that BVD machines could not be accessed.
That was before we even got into where we are.
Right, and you see, the silence with all of these things that happen is very worrying, and this is my thing. We have laid down procedures and then laws that are supposed to guide the election process and even supervise every other thing that happens within this jurisdiction called Ghana. If it's clear in the people's minds that certain things go unanswered or unchecked, and that it does not seem that the law is working, or it seems to be working for only certain people when it seems to be expedient, we are creating a situation where people will begin to take issues or the law into their own hands, and that they will have no respect, particularly for the jurisdiction, the judiciary service that we have. That's a very worrying precedent we're setting. Several issues have been raised, more practices and all of those. My worry is, how are these issues addressed? Sometimes they're just brushed off as frivolous. People play them down like they are jokes, but they have real repercussions. In the last 2 or 3 election cycles, we've actually had situations where human lives have been lost. What has justice been served in those issues? What has been our response to such issues? We just play them off. So in the last election, 80 people lost their lives. What has happened? What has come of that case? It's become, like we like to say, a foolish case. Right? So people are sitting back and they're watching all of these things happen. And then the first question you ask is, do we even have laws that are acting? And if we have laws, do they seem to be fair? Do they apply to everybody? Or is it that when you're in power, you become the law? You see, so these electoral processes or these problems that are being raised right now are very real issues. They're issues that have serious repercussions. But the lackadaisical approach to these problems is what is worrying for me. That yes, we might go into the elections, but all of these things will come out during the election process, and we can have serious issues on our hands. The Otumfuo has spoken, and he says we should not take the peace we are having for granted. I'd like to add to that and say, I do not believe peace to be the absence of violence, no. I say peace and order would be equality and social justice. Equity, you can add that to it. That's when you say you have peace. But if you do not see violence erupting here and there right now, you do not say you're in a peaceful situation. No, the absence of violence is not a peaceful situation. And these things are seeds that we are sowing into the election period that could have serious repercussions for our nation. So then again, like my brother mentioned, he called out the Peace Council, the religious-based organizations, and all those who are major stakeholders in this social event, social experiments we're running. They should not be quiet until things get out of hand and then they try to find their voices. No. These are the times when these things can be addressed right now, and we can make sure that this does not develop into something we cannot control.
In the major elections.
Exactly. But if we are quiet and we let these things pass, we've seen violence erupt at some of the registration centers.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you imagine what's going to happen in the main election? I really don't want to be a prophet of doom and start casting those negative predictions. But there's a time when all the major stakeholders have to come up and speak against some of these issues that are coming up. Because they're real issues. And if you watch other jurisdictions where they've been plunged into major political turmoil, some of these things, exactly, this is how this thing started, yes. So at this point, I have said this major elections we're going into is not a partisan election. This is not about MPP, NDC, no. These two players have had their time to show Ghanaians what they can do for the people. But we've gotten to a point, after 32 years, when each of them have had 16 years each to show what they can do for Ghanaians. Even with basic measures to make sure we elect successive governments, they've not been able to put in place measures that would make sure we have a smooth transition. So we always have problems with electoral processes, which benefits the two main parties all this while. They've not been able to create conducive atmosphere for these things to happen free and fairly. Are these the same people we're going to give the management of the country to? You see, and these are the proof against them. I said this main election we're going into is not a partisan election. This is about Ghana first. This is actually a rescue mission, right? We've gone through this cycle several times and we are still in the same spot. Things have to change. And this is why I always make the call to the youth of Ghana. Of course, the statistics show there are more than 60% of the voter population. And that if you're going to win any election, you need 50+1. So my call is always to the youth of Ghana. This exercise is a time for us to show our play as patriotic citizens in Ghana. The electoral process is our only measure to make sure we take our destiny into our own hands. Like I've said, this is not a partisan election. This is a national exercise, a rescue mission for Ghana. All these things show that we have to step up and take up the responsibility of first rescuing our nation and looking at how we can reconstruct and rebuild Ghana. This is a time for you to stand up and be counted. When you go to any of the registration centers and you find out that whoever is in the queue lining up to be registered does not fit the criteria for election, it's your duty as a patriotic citizen to raise up your voice. You don't have to start any trouble, but there are people around who are responsible for making sure the process is a smooth one. Raise your concerns with these officials and make sure it's addressed properly. Do not condone any corrupt practices or any practices that will cause any trouble for our people. And Kemji, let me just chip this in quickly. I have raised issues about the silence with the NCCE, National Commission for Civic Education, yes. Civic education is not just teaching people where to thumbprint. No. You have to educate people to even become aware or conscious about the choices they make and how they make those choices, right? That's the core mandate of the NCCE. So you don't just come up in the lead up to elections and teach people, you put your thumbprint here, you fold the paper this way and put it into the box. That is well and good. But civic education goes beyond the electoral process. It goes into understanding the mandate and the core responsibility of citizens in the country. So people actually don't even understand what their role and their responsibilities are as citizens. Okay. So they cannot even supervise some of these things, right? They don't even understand what these processes are like. This will be an appeal to them. As we're calling out to the other institutions, the main stakeholders, the NCCE plays a major role in our election as well. They have to explain to the voters or to citizens what their major role or primary role as citizens are, and to be able to hold their leaders to account or to expect certain things from people who are presenting themselves up for election. Okay. And this is the way we can build our democracy and make sure Ghana is a good place for all of us.
Very well. But this Mother's Day, make your mom feel extra special with Flamed Within collection designed to honor the little girl inside every mother. Celebrate her story and impact in your life with beautiful fabrics and stylish ladies' wear. Now available at all Within retail shops and partner shops nationwide. That's not all. You also get to receive a special gift of a beautiful tote bag to make her day unforgettable. So if you did, you can continue to do so. So we just don't celebrate Mother's Day on only Mother's Day, but even after Mother's Day, we still celebrate our moms, and Within is making that possible. Terms and conditions apply. Within Le Creator. Our branches, our offices, our shops, you can find us at Accra Mall, ANC Mall, Junction Mall, Osu Oxford Street, Legon City Mall, H&M Mall, at Denta. You can find us over there as well. In Kumasi, Within shops can be found at Kumasi City Mall, SG Mall, and a Doom Unicorn House as well. In Cape Coast, PAT building near Kingsway. In Takrady, look for us near the Market Circle. Kufridia, we're in Atlantic Plaza building and PAT building in Sunyani. And those are places that you can find Within and speak to us and make your mother feel so special, especially this Mother's Day month, all right? So it's a whole month celebration. Now, Ghana make hard power, so everybody wants value for their hard-earned money. When it comes to tomato mix, value to every individual, it means that you are very consistent and rich red color that doesn't actually color your meat or fish. You have thick paste that gives you your desired quantity of soup or stew. Now, good tomato flavor that gives that consistent and unique taste to all your dishes. You can actually rely on Tasty Tom and rich tomato mix for all these. That is why we say we a tomato mix papa. No color changing like traffic light. Debia koko kama. Taste no so dear. On point, because Tasty Tom is fake wafakakra na yebebre a company biara in. Don't compromise on quality to papa no at once. Choose Tasty Tom and rich tomato mix and get value for money. You stand a chance to win amazing prizes from Tasty Tom during the phoning sessions on Drive Time on Joy as well. All you need to do is to tell us how you prepare your favorite meal using Tasty Tom and rich tomato mix, and you're good to go. This promises to be fun and interesting, so make sure you do tune in and have something for yourself. Tasty Tom and rich tomato mix says that ofakakra na yebebre, and that's what it is, right? So that's going to be the end of our conversation this morning.
Let me just add one last bit of it, and then
we're pressed for time, so do it quickly.
Quickly, in a minute. KMJ, listen. When you go to Kofi Adams' constituency, there are polling stations across, and then you have the immigration service set up, a place where they actually turn people down. Why would you set up a center, when you know that people in those 3 polling stations would have to come through you to go. Why don't you go to the border? Why do you sit up before them?
So it makes it easier.
It makes it easier. And so we're saying that all this thing that the Electoral Commission and the presidency is doing, it's unacceptable. Listen, KMJ, in order for anybody to understand this, in German North, you have 110 polling stations. You have 13 electoral areas. The Electoral Commission has created only 3 centers. Only 3 centers. Where people can actually go and vote. Between Esioko and Sampa is 30 kilometers. The transport is 35 Ghana cedis in, 35 out. So 70 Ghana cedis. I'm asking, which parent will look at his 18-year-old child and say, take 70 Ghana cedis, go and come, and if he's not able to register, go back the following day? So you're creating this. And again, they forget the reason why they are doing all these things and bringing people from all places to come and register, like Mustafa indicated, is because at the centers, those 3 centers, how do you challenge if someone comes and says that I'm from that particular polling station? How do you challenge? You don't live there. You don't know them. So they're taking advantage of that, and you're creating all this chaos. And then they tell you, we are the peacemakers. Notice is served.
Very well. Adal bin Sheikh Umar Ibrahim, National Communications from the NDC and also Director of Operations, Greater Accra Youth Wing, joined us this morning from the NDC. Pagre Bachidankwa is government spokesperson on governance and security, also joined us this morning as well. And I had my brother Nia Iyopari also coming all the way from the Movement for Change communications team and joining us this morning here on the show. Gentlemen, very thank you to you all for making time for us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Today's your birthday, and I want to wish you a happy birthday, Dr. Reverend Lawrence Tete. My godfather, it's your birthday today. My spiritual daddy, God bless you so much. I appreciate everything you do for me. Dr. Reverend Lawrence Tete. And, we're celebrating you. We wish you the very best, long life, good health, and prosperity going to you wherever you are. May God bless you and continue to bless you. Dr. Reverend Lawrence Tete. That's going to be all for Newsflash this morning. It's proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise Phone, Papa Pafi. I'm glad that you also sent in your messages as well. Still to come. And see where the Golden Girl has got some update in the world of what's trending. And then sports will be coming through. Nathaniel Ato will be joining us this morning as well. Rosalind Felly's got the biggest conversation coming up a bit later as well. So make sure you tune in. Sydney Berima is going to be our guest on the big interview this morning here on Prime Morning. You don't want to miss out on that. Send in your messages and all the questions you want to be asking him right here on the show. And trust me, it's going to be an interesting conversation. You need to tune in. There's more coming up right here on the show. Do stay.